Welcome to season 3 of the Venue Success podcast, where every episode this season is a quick, actionable tip from Tirzah to help you boost revenue, streamline operations, and create a venue experience couples can't resist. So let's dive right on in. I wanted to start today by just briefly telling you about my experience at the Wedding MBA because I did something a little different this year where I set up a cocktail table and some chairs at my booth, and I did 10-minute mini coaching sessions on 2 of the days that we were there. Day 1, it was 7 straight hours of coaching. The next day, it was 5 hours. And as I've been reflecting the last couple weeks about my time doing that, and just dozens and dozens of people sitting across from me with so much heaviness. And I absorbed a lot of that, right? And I'm an empath, so let me tell you, I've had a lot to think about the last couple of weeks. But I think the big thing is, number one, if you're one of those people that sat across from me, thank you for being vulnerable with me. Your stories are safe in my heart. And I think and honestly pray for a lot of you and some of these stories that you told me was just heartbreaking. And so today I kind of wanted to share with you my tactic in those conversations with all of these venue owners in hopes that this could help you too. Because as I was hearing all of these dozens of stories of people that were, bottom line, just kind of overwhelmed. They knew that they wanted their business to grow. They knew that they were kind of at this make or break place in their business and they didn't even know where to start. And I feel like it might be helpful for you as my listeners to kind of hear maybe how my brain works a little bit and how I figure out where I want to prioritize working with venues. And so, let me just dive right in and kind of share that with you. So basically, think of it as like a 3-legged stool. One leg is your leads, another is your tours, and the other is conversion. And so if any one of those legs is broken, right, the whole thing fails. And they are all equally important, right? But let's start with the leads, and let me just kind of share a little bit with you how I think about that strategically. So when someone comes to me and they're like, I want to have, let's say, 100 weddings a year, which I know is probably a little bit above average for most people. But I want to use kind of my venue as an example. Say I want to have 100 weddings a year. I know it's simple numbers. It's a numbers game, right? I know that if I wanted 100 weddings a year, that I should have 350, I would say, to 400 new leads a month, right? Because I know not everyone that is a lead is going to take a tour, right? There was a certain percentage that I could track that were going to turn into a tour. So I knew that's where I needed to be. So think about where it is that you need to be. If you're a venue that really only wants to have, say, 50 weddings a year, you're seasonal, you're not going to need as many leads coming in. So that's the first thing. If I'm talking to someone and they're like, yeah, Tirzah, I want to have 100 weddings a year, but you're only having 100 leads come in a month, I know that that is a very important place to start to fill your funnel more. Does that make sense? So let's think a little bit, peel some layers off that lead onion. Let's talk about your leads, where they're coming from. So you have your website and you have social media. Those are the 2 main pools of people that you're dealing with. You have a Google ad, pointing people to your website, all of that stuff. Your website is critically important. And one thing that I would say, as I've researched hundreds and hundreds of venues, a lot of your websites are not great. And maybe you're just trying to do it yourself. And I would tell you, if this is not an area of strength for you, that you're a business owner. This is extremely important. This is a business expense that you need to make to have someone do a great website for you. Even me, who's been in this industry for 3 decades, even sometimes I've made mistakes in this area. I paid someone to do a new website for me years ago, not realizing that they had done a terrible job. They had cloned a bakery website or something like that, and they had without getting too deep in the weeds, they had indexed my website terribly, and it was messing up my ranking, it was messing up my SEO and all of this stuff. And so I hired a professional to come in and just evaluate it. I didn't even know that was happening, but because I knew, I was like, man, I feel like something here is broken. I wasn't quite sure what. I hired someone to analyze it for me, and they found my gut was right, that there was something wrong. And so if you want to go back to season 2, there's an episode with Snowmad Digital. There's also one with Sarah Does SEO. Listen to those, reach out to those gals if you need someone to look at your website and maybe give that a little tune up. I also want to talk just very briefly about your response time and what you should do with your inquiries. There's the tale as old as time about should you put your pricing on your website, or should you not? I'm not going to fight about that. I just know that some people have success in both directions for sure. But for me, what I, in my marketing brain, can understand is that I cannot build rapport and trust and bring value to someone if I don't have their information. If they're just coming to my website, getting everything that they need on my website, I don't have a way, and then leaving, I don't have a way to know their name, how to communicate with them. And so I like giving them a little appetizer on the website, which could be a range or a starting point. And then on my pricing guide, when they give me their name, phone number, and email, the pricing guide gives them the main course, all of the nitty-gritty details. And then I'm able to, again, build rapport with them, have a strategic marketing campaign. Make sense? The next thing I like to think about when it comes to the leads is, as they're coming to your website, what are they seeing as your differentiating factor? What is your value proposition? And a lot of you can't know this if you haven't done a market analysis. I can't tell you how many people have told me that they've done one, and what they've done is not even remotely deep enough. And so this is something I actually am going to start providing as a free resource to anyone that is interested. Stay tuned in the next month or two. I'm going to make this available, but I have my market analysis template, and this is what I use before I start coaching anyone, or when I engage in coaching with them. This is the first thing I do, is I perform a market analysis. And guys, like, this needs to be up to date all of the time. If you haven't done one of these in the last 3 years, this is a very important thing for you to do. Again, I'm trying to keep this short and sweet today, but I also want to talk about where you're spending your marketing dollars, right? We've got social media, we've got Google ads, we've got SEO, we've got these big label marketing companies, The Knot, Wedding Wire, Zola. And I just want to say, if you can for sure know that they're helping you, keep doing it. I don't want you to break something or stop something that's not broken, right? But I think for probably 95% of us, we are spending anywhere from $800 to $1,500 a month on these big platforms, and it's not serving your business well. And so I'm a big fan of putting that money in a place that you know is going directly towards bringing in leads to your business specifically. And so I've always been a big fan of having control over that. So I don't want to go too deeply down that wormhole. Go back and listen to season 2, The Knot Whistleblowers. There's 2 episodes if you want more details about my specific story with The Knot and Wedding Wire. Go listen to that. And my 2 cents is, I'm not ever been a big fan of giving money to people that I know have questionable business practices. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Lastly, when it comes to leads, I just want to talk about making sure that you're using Google's, I like to call it their social media platform, your Google My Business. So be sure that you've claimed your listing. Be sure that you're putting high quality photos, great content that you're putting on social media. Just pop it over on your Google My Business. There's no such thing as too much content over there. And again, to summarize this first leg, it's a numbers game, right? We need to make sure that depending on the amount of events that you want to do, that you're keeping that funnel as full as possible. And there could be some opportunities for you to kind of increase some ad spend, have some more deeper strategy in this area. And again, this is something that I dive into deeply with my one-on-one coaching to figure out what you need to pivot with the leads. All right, the second part is your tours. Now, again, getting the pricing information into the potential client's hands quickly and efficiently is vitally important. And a lot of you could really improve in this area, because the thing is, like, if you have all of these leads coming in and you don't have them booking a tour, I would say, what is going on in that process as you're communicating with them that is not compelling them to want to have a tour with you? So if I had, say, 350 leads coming in a month and only having 10 or 15 tours or something like that, there's something that's also broken in that process, meaning they don't see any value in coming out to have a tour with me. And I need to think about that. If I have automation, what do I need to change about my automation? Maybe I don't have any automation and I'm not communicating with them at all. And so then, of course, you're not going to get a tour. So this is something to think very methodically about. Where in this process is there a kink in the chain? What I believe is so important in getting someone to come out for a tour is building trust and connection. Gen Z wants authentic connection. They are over the cliche crap. So don't say as your first email to people, congratulations on your engagement. Everyone is saying that. Connect with them in a different way. So some of those ways that you could do it is just pick up your phone and send a video clip to them, personalize messages. I love automation in terms of getting the pricing packet in people's hands, but the personalization has to be part of the process as well. I also love the idea of having a blog that is generic, helpful advice, so that they could see, oh, it's not all about just selling your venue to them. It's about being a helpful person just in general. So maybe it's writing a blog that's top 10 mistakes engaged couples make, something like that. And that could be part of your automation that you send kind of early on in the process. And they see you as a valuable educator for them. And they may start engaging with you about the blog that you send or whatever, okay? What I'm saying here is you need to build that trust and connection. And then you want to also be sure that you're asking for a tour. I think a lot of you are like, you're almost leaving it in their hands to say, all right, I'm ready, I want a tour. But you should also be asking for the tour along the way as well. Not being salesy or whatever, but ask them to come and tell them why you're excited to meet with them. Okay, so that is the second leg. The third leg is your conversion. So how do I know if this part is broken? Gosh, I was just talking with one of my clients this morning, actually, and he was talking to me about how he showed me, like, this is the amount of leads I have coming in. This is the amount of tours I did. Of those tours, 0 have converted in November. That's where I know something is broken, because I see, okay, he's got a big funnel. He did almost 20 tours. That's a decent amount of tours, but 0 converted. So what does that tell me? Something might be broken about the tour process. It could be the pricing. It could be your value proposition. To summarize that, it's confusion, right? Confusion is the number one thing I think keeps people from taking the next step. And so conversion, this part is actually my favorite, because I love teaching people about how to do compelling tours, how to have really strategic closing strategies, all of that fun stuff. I don't talk about this a lot on the podcast, but I do want to point out as we close today 2 really important tools that I have. Go to tirzahcafe.com. And under resources, I think there's a free resource tab in there that says 7 mistakes you're making on tours. It's a 9-minute training about the most common mistakes that I see my clients making on tours. So check that out. And then the second thing, it's my biggest resource, is the Venue Success Blueprint. And in that, I talk about how to communicate with people, how to think about your pricing, how to sell the different personality types, which is not talked about enough, and this is so important. And also my favorite closing one-liners, my closing strategies, how to follow up with people. And so be sure and check that out as well. There is a discount code if you're listening to this. If you just put in at checkout for the Venue Success Blueprint, if you put in podcast, you'll get 10% off, and that's always available to anyone watching the podcast. So again, the 7 mistakes you're making on tours and the Venue Success Blueprint are super helpful as part of the conversion process. But I'm going to keep this short and sweet for today, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I hope those things were helpful for you. Take some time to think about it. Which leg is maybe the most broken? Is it your leads? Is it your tours? Is it your conversion rate? And that is where you kind of determine where you need to spend your energies. So thank you for joining me today, my friends. If you are finding value in the Venue Success podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would be sure to go and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You gotta love the algorithm, but please help me out here. If you haven't done that, please like and follow. And I would also really love for you to leave me a rating on whatever platform you love to watch or listen. I would really appreciate that as well. But I will see you next time on the Venue Success podcast.